thrilled to be joined now by Jason Howarth, Panini's SVP of Marketing. Jason, I want to start just big picture on this. I think maybe the most obvious question I could ask you in relation to you guys signing Caitlyn Clark. Why Caitlyn Clark? This is your first female athlete. This is your first partnership on a multi-year deal with someone in the space, but why her specifically?
Yeah, well, I would say first off, first female athlete is an exclusive for trading cards and memorabilia. Obviously we've had relationships with the U.S. women's national team and have done stuff on that side and the W. But, in the case of Caitlyn, first exclusive athlete for trading cards, autographs, and memorabilia. And why Caitlyn? So, one, she's just, we believe that she transcends the game. Started, looking at that process like after the Final Four last year, and then, starting that process like in early October, trying to figure out how we could bring this relationship to life. And then we started working through that process and then, just announced, a little over a week ago that we signed her exclusively. We wanted to, let her get through what she needed to get through for the season and, hit the milestones, which we knew she would, pending injury or whatever, like was the wild card, the things that nobody can control. But so let those moments happen, let that spotlight happen, and then come out with our announcement after that. So really excited about what she brings to the table. I mean, she's fun to watch. She's one of those athletes that, no matter what, I think everybody wants to be able to say, like, I need to go see her play. And there's only a handful of athletes that kind of have that effect, right? So we felt like Caitlyn would be the perfect fit for us there.
Do you remember the first time you, as a fan of basketball, as a fan of sports, became aware of her and kind of understood what kind of star she could be, what kind of talent she is?
Yeah, I mean, obviously last year's, tournament run, I think is where everyone started to really is where I started to pay attention to, like, okay, this is different. It's elevating different, right? As opposed to, you're watching the season, you're seeing what's happening in the season, but then there's always those things. I was literally just talking about it in the men's game too. Like, there's going to be someone that no one has thought of, or, is a sleeper, that emerges in the tournament that just takes over the tournament and captures everyone's attention. Steph Curry did it, for Davidson back in the day, right? Like, you just, that status becomes like great player to, like, now everyone's recognizing and seeing them on this stage. And so I think last year that was where people, outside of Iowa started paying attention to Caitlyn, right? Was, they saw what happened in the tournament run. And so there was that built up excitement and energy that just kind of carried through to this season. And then obviously the run that she was on, the entire year, as well as with the team Iowa, like that has just been something that people have been paying attention to. It's hard to avoid when there's lines outside gym doors hours and hours before a game, because people want to go see someone play.
Yeah, there's not really anything else like this. I mean, anecdotally, you talk to people about getting tickets in their city, even for bad women's team she's playing, and it's like, yeah, the ticket price is 4 or 5 times more than what you don't really pay. I mean, people have seen the Final Four ticket prices, they're higher than the men's, and I think it's because people are hoping to see her in that environment. I think that's where the excitement comes from.
Man, you look at, again, like, that Big Ten championship game against Nebraska was just incredible to watch. But you're right. Like, in talking about the tournament on the women's side, like, you're going to want to watch every LSU game. You're going to want to watch every South Carolina game. You're going to want to watch every Iowa game. Like, that's just, I mean, that's like forgetting about UConn and all the other schools that are, in the run, but like those are all like must see TV to watch those games, because you just want to see what happens. And then if they go head to head, like, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's Final Fours. I'm in Cleveland. It's my backyard. I'm hoping I can find my way in there in some way, no matter what the matchups are. So the specific, to reference the language you said before, first athlete, female athlete, multi-year deal. You guys have done the stuff with the women's national team, the W, all that stuff. But why was now the right moment to branch out, single and a female athlete on her own, stand on her own for you guys as a company?
I think that, I mean, like I said, when you have the opportunity to work with an athlete that kind of transcends the sport, doesn't matter what the sport is, it doesn't matter the gender of the athlete, like you should really look at that and then figure out what you do around that. And so as we started that process, we knew that there was, this opportunity. We knew that she, would resonate beyond just Iowa, resonate beyond just women's basketball. We knew all those things. And so, it's why you also look at, building a Caitlyn Clark collection, which we will release, here in the spring, later spring, I should say. That's why you build that product. And we've only built a product for one other athlete, um, you know, as a standalone, and that was Kobe Bryant.
Mm.
So, to put that's just to put it on
That's
in perspective, like both for
yeah.
Caitlyn and for us too. Like, but we feel, we feel very confident about that. We feel like that's the right move to make, to celebrate her uniquely. And then obviously as she makes her next move, she's got a crazy run here in the next month, between the tournament to the W draft on April 15th. So it's going to be fun to watch.
So we're to do something that you've only done for one other athlete, and that being the late great Kobe Bryant, obviously an icon of the sport, icon of American sports beyond the NBA and beyond basketball. What leads you to say, okay, Caitlyn is someone we can escalate to that level, to put on that level, and do something this thorough with, this big with?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things. Like, I mean, obviously we don't make decisions just in a vacuum. We don't make decisions just based on performance on the court, but we have to see like what's happening in the space. Are people talking about this athlete? Is there someone that like is there a dynamic that's going on there that feels bigger, right? And so you look at you know ratings for Iowa, women's basketball games and the things that they've done there, and playing on the football field like at the beginning of the season, you know, all of those things, and outperforming, NBA games like on a Saturday afternoon, you know, and in women's basketball, you're seeing the constant lines out the door, for people wanting to watch, see her play. So you see all of those things kind of coming together. Um, and I think that that's the part that like was like, yeah, like this is what we need to do, and we'll see what the response is, we'll see what the reaction is, and go from there. And so that all of those things kind of like make up the decision making process on, is this viable, right? And how does that work?
With what you guys have coming, what can you tell us about the Caitlyn Clark cards, the memorabilia? What can you tell us about the line of Caitlyn Clark product and memorabilia that's
Yeah,
coming?
so I mean, obviously on the memorabilia side, all that stuff will be available at paniniamerica.net. And on the trading card side, you'll have it, on our site and then at retailers across the country. Both for Caitlyn Clark and then obviously as we move into our W product, as we move into that process, she'll be highlighted in there along with other W players, for the products that we released this year for this season. So, I mean, you'll have all those things from a memorabilia. It's like everything that you expect from signed basketballs to great photos of memorable moments. All those types of things are in play. Jerseys, you name it. On the trading card side, is really kind of celebrating those key Caitlyn Clark moments throughout her 4-year run at Iowa. Um, in addition to like those special moments of like where she fell in love with basketball and like incorporating that into the collection as well. So where and how she fell in love with basketball, I should say, right? Like, so those things will be part of the mix in terms of the Caitlyn Clark collection.
On the trading card side specifically, were you guys hearing from collectors, from just maybe basketball fans more broadly, being like, "Can I get a kid?" Like, are you guys hearing like people asking for this in some way? Because it wouldn't surprise me if you were, honestly, considering who she
Yeah.
is.
So obviously we kept it very we kept the process very quiet.
Hmm.
Until we were ready to share and announce. Clearly, we knew that there's interest, in the trading card space for her. But at the same time, like we also, once we made the announcement, obviously that changed everything in terms of people like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to get a Caitlyn Clark Panini card, and the excitement around that. But again, we kept it like, obviously, like I said, we're hearing all these different things, but we just kept our process very quiet until it was time to make the announcement, because we felt like, one, that's what we do, is like let the athlete focus on doing what the athlete's supposed to do: perform, execute, do those things, and then find the right moment where we can make the announcement that will be meaningful and compelling. And had no idea what she was going to do, whether she was going to stay another year because of the COVID year, or
Hmm.
COVID rule, for whatever you want to call it, or whether she was going to go to the W. So, I mean, we had no idea during this entire process, like, is she going to stay one more year? Is she going to go to the W? What's going to happen here? We didn't know any of those things. And obviously, the week before she announced that she was declaring for the draft. So, exciting time for everybody, as it relates to basketball, I think. So exciting for the W too. So that's what'll happen.
I'm sure for you guys, it's also exciting that you're getting to work with her as she's making this transition, and you via cards, via memorabilia, whatever it's going to be, you're getting to document a historic moment for her, and I think a moment a
Yeah,
lot of people are going to have their eyes on.
absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's the thing that's so cool about trading cards, is that we have the ability to do that. Especially now with the emergence of NIL, is that you get to tell that story a little bit earlier than what we've been able to do historically, because pre NIL you couldn't do anything with anybody until after they declared to be draft eligible, or their collegiate eligibility expired. So like you had to patiently wait for that to end before you could do that. But we've launched our, on our at Panini America, our Panini Instant cards, so that celebrate real time performances. So we launched, the Caitlyn Clark, milestone card after she, became the all time scoring leader, passing Pete Maravich. We announced when she became the women's scoring leader, and had that card from that moment. We'll have those cards throughout the tournament, obviously, for those moments for her. Um, so we'll be able to tell that story, and then to your point, like when her name is called, during the W draft, like there'll be a WNBA draft card of Caitlyn, and then obviously in her uniform, and as the games start to begin, like chronicling that part of her career. So like we've done with so many other athletes.
With with her in this moment, is there a card, is there a piece of memorabilia that you are most excited for people to see when you think about the collection you guys have coming out?
So, um, yeah, I think there's two answers to that question. So the first one I'll answer
Okay.
is we have a very popular insert called Downtown that we use in our Donruss brand.
Hmm.
Um, on the collegiate side, it's not downtown; it's on campus. That'll be one of the cards that's exclusive in the Caitlyn Clark collection. So there'll be some unique on-campus parallels that are available in the Caitlyn Clark collection across various retailers. So I think that part is really cool. And then I think the other card moment that I'm excited for, I can't say out loud, because it has to happen before it has to come to life before we can do it. But I'm super excited for the opportunity for that to happen. Um, and I think when it does, like it's just going to be incredible. So, you know, that's a to be continued, I guess.
Looking forward to hearing more in the future on that, obviously. Then, two last things for you, Jason. Number one, I know you said there's the Kobe thing where she's the only person that's gotten a similar escalation as him. But is there, in terms of excitement you hear from Panini customers, from your own in-house, fans, people, like, is there an athlete, male, female, whatever, that compares to the hype that you guys are hearing and feeling in anticipation of her stuff coming out?
From a hype perspective, I would probably say, I mean, that's a hard question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you're looking at it from like two different perspectives,
Sure.
to be honest. Like, I mean, I think the level of hype that, for Caitlyn is kind of like the level of hype for Wemby.
Mm.
Um, you know, but then you take that to a different dynamic, right? Like you think about like athlete transcendent, what that means. And that's different too. Like, so the excitement around that, and I think that's me personally, is what I'm excited for the most. Like I just a quick anecdote. Like I was talking to my mother, and was talking about, when my kids were younger, like they looked up to Mia Hamm, like aspired to be Mia Hamm. And I feel like Caitlyn has that ability to do that. And I think a bigger platform, quite honestly, because of basketball. So that part I think is really exciting. Um, so two-part answer to your question on that one.
Yeah, Wemby feels also just like just because we're getting these big stars coming up, and they're almost like famous when they arrive, right, in the pros. Like
Yeah.
Wemby is this social media alien thing people saw clips of, and then he gets drafted, and he's already really good. And Caitlyn Clark, we saw perform on the biggest stage in a way that like only she really could, and she's kind of the face of the college game men and women.
Yeah,
Right?
and I
Which is
think
very,
like
very cool.
but you push that back, right? You tell that
Yeah,
story. So like the Zion year, the excitement for Zion.
yeah.
Like I feel like so there's a couple of different answers to that question, which makes it kind of hard. But like those are the things that I think kind of stand out as it relates to the excitement for for product for Caitlyn.
Yeah, it's gonna be very exciting to see. Yeah, that's the last thing. Not just with her, and I know you guys had the deal with women's soccer and with the W, but what potential do you guys as a company and you see in women's sports memorabilia, women's sports cards overall? Where do you see that? Where do you guys see that space going in the next couple of years?
I think it's growing. I mean, like we just talked about in terms of the the women's tournament on the NCAA side. Like there's more interest in the women's tournament. That continues to grow and escalate. And I think the dynamic has changed. I think collectors historically had always been like very kind of like you know the collectors in the community have evolved, right? They always want to collect the best athletes. It doesn't matter whether they're male or female. And so I think as we pivot into that space, like that was the flag that we planted with Caitlyn. Like she's going to be the anchor. We're going to continue to look at other opportunities there where it makes sense. So on the female side, so what I would say is, like, again, collectors want to collect the best athletes, and that's what our job is to do, is to work with the best athletes.
Jason, thank you so much for coming on. Just as a reminder, can you tell everyone where they're going to be able to find this Caitlyn Clark collection and when it's coming out, and any other information you think they should know before the launch?
Yeah, so the Caitlyn Clark collection will launch. Knock on wood, there'll be a pre-order phase, and then launch and hit shelves, in June. But you can get that at PaniniAmerica.net. There'll also be other retailers that are involved in the products that you'll be able to find, across the country.
Check that out. Check out PaniniAmerica.net. And Jason, thank you so much for coming on and chatting about it.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.